Monk, I think the Industrial Revolution and its consequences have been a disaster for Bartertown.
This is all the power you ever had. Now it is mine. Pity there's not more time for us.
You tell him it's open season on all suckheads.
You are left. No more clowning around. Fire
Is that gasoline I smell?
No, man. No!
Welcome, everybody, to Edging with Trash and Monk, the only podcast that's ever been made. Industrial Society and its consequences, my co-host Briantrash said. That sounds like a whole load of pig shit, if I'm being honest.
So true. So true. What, you think that the methane farm is like good? Wow.
No, the methane farm is called Capitol Hill, is what it's called. That's called GD Congress.
That's GD Congress. That's the House of Lords.
They got more pork in that than the latest bill that they passed to do something. Imagine if Congress passed a bill to do anything.
Imagine if Congress. I mean, for real. Do you think they're like alive? I think there's just a do you think
the members of Congress are exploring each other's bodies?
I hope so. You know how like in Fallout you're like walking through the world and there's just like skeletons just kind of chilling out everywhere? I kind of have a sneaking. Okay, well, anyways, that's what's happening, right? And so like you go into Congress, like I have a sneaking suspicion there's nobody alive in there. They got one janitor that comes in and like dusts the bones, you know?
That'd be cool. Or like they're all ghouls. Like Joe Brandon looks up to you and he's like, "Oh, listen here, smooth skin."
and then he eats you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're feral. Feral ghouls like Mitchell McConnell, Michelin McConnell.
Nancy Pelosi would definitely be one of the glowing feral ghouls.
You think she'd be a glowing one? Ooh.
I think she would be glowing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyways, hi everybody. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast where we talk about how all politicians are secretly undead lizards, but we're actually based about it.
But we're based about it. I don't know if you caught that, but I was making a reference to Auntie K as the dolls call her.
Was she some sort of
podcast?
Some sort of
terrorist
advocate?
Some sort of terrorist. Well, there's another auntie that we got to talk about in the movie. So
that's true.
Buckle up, everyone.
Except she's pro-civilization.
Yeah, so, she's pro-civ. I don't know. This movie really does have a lot to say about civilization. I think that's funny.
Yeah, the last one had that too, but this one I think is definitely developing those themes further. But we can't talk about the movie yet because we have to talk about like chips or something for 30 more minutes.
Yeah.
I don't have any chip talk actually. Chips have been a deep well, but much like chips themselves, well's pretty dry.
Well, actually, are you sure about that? Because I did go to the store recently.
Brian, we're gonna have fucking like
riots.
Letters. We're gonna have like
good
people sent to our homes and we talk about chips for 30 minutes again.
Well, it's not gonna be 30 minutes, okay? It'll only be like 25 minutes. Okay. So check it out. I was at the grocery store and I hear people all over the world. I've heard chip takes from all over the world, right? People are talking about all dressed chips, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had never had all dressed chips before.
You can't get them everywhere. It's really more of a Canadian thing, and they kind of sneak over the border.
But we got them. We finally got them. Hey, Washington, we got them.
We got.
Speaking of civilization, anyways, Obama. Yeah. So so we got all dressed chips, and I gotta say, that is a goated chip. I see what the hype is about. You know, have you had them?
I have had him. I had him over Maine. You know what? When you said we got him, I kind of was talking about the Canada thing, and I meant for the Canada thing to be like, oh, you probably can't get them, because I kind of forgot that Seattle is like near Canada.
Yeah, Washington. I don't know if you know this, but Washington, up until very recently,
yeah,
it was really common for everybody to kind of sound a little bit Canadian. I know people say that that's like a Midwest thing, but here's the thing: if you share a border with Canada, those oohs soften. It's like a whole thing. It's weird.
Yeah. Up in the north near Quebec, that is not nearly as much of a thing. I don't think people are talking like
French.
Quebecois.
French.
But I think I'm thinking about it, and it's like, oh yeah, Vancouver's right there. But Vancouver's always sort of like registered in my mind. You know, those like all those news stories about like the fake cities they build in North Korea or China.
Oh my god, Vancouver.
That's what I think Vancouver is, you know?
I have terrible news for you, Monk.
Yeah.
I've been to Vancouver. There are people there.
There's like paid actors.
I smoked the worst weed I've ever had in my life in Vancouver. I did.
Yeah. Did your minder lead you to the legalized narcotics store and show you all of their beautiful narcotics and fully stocked grocery stores?
I was with a bunch of friends. We went to the gay bar, and we were hanging out at the gay bar, and I was getting hit on a lot, and I was like, okay, that feels cool. I'm loving that. So I'm like turning down propositions from very nice people. And we get out of there, and this is when we meet this guy who says he's from New York.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so we got this random guy from New York who's just like, I'm in town. I'm hanging out.
I'm in town. I'm hanging out. I'm walking over here.
I'm walking over here. Let's go ahead and be friends. And we're all like, okay, yeah, fuck yeah. Let's make friends with this New Yorker in Canada. And so we're like running around town. I don't remember how we got there, but we ended up walking around. We got to like this weird place, and there was just this hippie guy hanging out. And he's like, hey, you want some mushrooms? And we were all like, no. And he's like, what about weed? And we're like, yeah. And he then like rolls over his guitar, and just a bag of drugs falls out of it. And he's just like, yeah, I got what you need. And gives us like a 20 sack of weed. And I swear that shit had rubber in it. It was bad. And it gave everyone a headache. So I gotta say, hippie dude in Canada who gave us rubber weed, fuck you.
You're not really
I'm never smoking Canada weed anymore.
You're not really putting forth a convincing argument for this being a real city that actually exists.
They had crepes though, and the crepes were good.
That's good. At least I got something.
There were people there that weren't like looking at me like they're trying to please me. So I think it's not quite like North Korea. And also, I did walk down the street where there was all the where like the famous street in Vancouver. Do you know about the famous street in Vancouver where it's like, oh my god, it's where the library and the police department have offices right across from each other, and just like there's just like a lot of homeless people and a lot of drug use right there.
What's the street called?
I saw it. I can't remember. It's been a long time.
Okay,
but that's cool. The famous Vancouver street. It's like that's the corner. If you listen to the Vancouver news, that's where like all the conservatives are like, well, now you know we got a drug problem here.
Don't you know?
Don't you know we got a drug problem here in Vancouver? You see right here on the street, there's like 500 people, and it smells like people are smoking crack all the time. And it's like, well, you know, frankly, they're right. It does smell like people are smoking crack all the time, but it's like one block. It's not.
Yeah.
I think
maybe people should just chill out around it. Maybe you should be like, maybe you should just smoke some crack too. And
just smoke some of that crack. Yeah. Why aren't you smoking crack? It works for Hunter Biden. I love Hunter Biden. Have you seen his cock?
Has his cock hit the internet?
I mean, you don't have to look. You can see it in his undies.
Yeah.
Come on now. Grow up.
I feel like if there was a picture of his cock on the internet, there would be like a million Republicans who are constantly posting his cock all the time.
Yeah, I mean, didn't they actually do that though? Like, I don't know if it was his cock, but it was like part of the thing was like, yeah, they're just posting naked pictures of Hunter Biden all the time. And like people are like, you can't do that. And people are like, you're silencing me.
Like, no, dog, you're the one with a bunch of fucking naked pictures of Hunter Biden on your computer.
You're posting literal revenge porn about Hunter Biden. Like, it's not cool. You can't do that. And then all these Republicans are like, my freeze peach.
Yeah.
My frozen peaches.
You know, frozen peaches are actually pretty good.
They are banging, yeah. And also they're so much less messy. And I gotta say, big fan of that.
You ever what's your favorite frozen fruit? Did you ever just snack on frozen fruit out of the bag?
Yeah, I like a blueberry a lot.
Blueberry.
A frozen blueberry is really good. Yeah, I mean, you can just pop them, you know? It's just like pop, pop, pop. And you can make like a nice parfait pretty quick too, if you're into a parfait. It is the in French, you know, it's the parfait treat, you know?
God,
it means perfect.
God fucking damn.
It means perfect, listener, okay? You remember, actually, speaking of parfaits, I remember when mustaches were really big and like hipster runoff was a website?
A lot of people had mustaches, or like all the mustaches were very large?
All the mustaches were like very prominent. People were waxing them.
Oh,
that you remember that? Well, like that kind of shit? Like the
I remember stuff? 2012.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the Mayans were talking about.
Yeah, actually, there's a great music video about that. But anyways, I'm getting so fucking sidetracked. Anyways, watch Fat Tony's video, Hood Party. It's really great. There's a lot of cool rappers on it, and like one rapper who's like problematic, but like really good. I still like it. I still like his music, but like,
you talking about Kanye?
No, I'm talking about Vicky Vasquez. Vicky Vasquez, cool.
I know
AD,
how much of a Ye fan you are.
I like it when Ye is doing all of the lights, because he's like standing on top of a cop car doing the Naruto run pose. And that image is seared into my brain.
Yeah, I still see it every day looking at Discord, because you have that cyberpunk server. Yeah,
it's so good. It's like, who decided Hype Williams is a monster? Yeah, but they end that, they have like the Hood Party, and it's like they're having, you know, on every coast, and even in the central time zone, they're having a party, and they're doing it over like a fake Zoom, right? And then everybody's like central time logs off, and then West Coast and East Coast are watching, and it's 12 o'clock on the East Coast. And then a bunch of Mayans show up and kill everyone. And that's why it's because 2012 Mayan apocalypse was the meme, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. See, super cool. What were we?
You were talking about mustaches.
Mustaches, that's right. Do you know about parfait shaving?
Is that when you get hair in your parfait?
So parfait shaving is when you shave, you know, in a parfait way. And that just means that you do some stupid shit, right? Like
is
you
that
do
like,
some
Robert Downey Jr.'s shit and fucking Iron Man? That kind of stupid shit.
No. Even more stupid. Like think G.G. Allen, but a hipster.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I am having a hard time imagining this.
It's parfait shaving. Like somebody shaving stripes into their beard.
That sounds like Robert Downey Jr.
What? I don't even.
Maybe I don't remember.
Legitimately,
I have like.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he looks like. I don't think he does.
He's got like stripes.
He's got like a sick fade on his. What are you talking about? No, that's nuts. He didn't do that.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
And like Iron Man 1, he had like the weird shit going on.
Chat. What?
He has like weird shit. I don't know. I'm trying to find it.
Do you mean a goatee?
Well, he's got a goatee, but it's got stripes. It's weird. You see, he's got like little racing stripes. Hold on, let me find an image. This is the Robert Downey Jr.
image
podcast. Like this.
This is the Robert Downey Jr. moment.
Yeah. See, he's got these
maybe
fucking lines.
Okay. Okay. No, I see what you're talking about. Okay. Yeah, sure. Maybe I could see that. I could see where you would call that parfait. Mm-hmm.
See, I'm not crazy. Every time Brian says, "What are you talking about?" and I'm right.
Yeah. So I was just
I also just looked up parfait shave and I see literally nothing. Or I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because you know what the best part about parfait shaving is?
What?
That it's literally one post on the website Hipster Runoff from 2012.
Okay, cool.
And also the word probabilistically.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever been used again. What is probabilistically a real word that people use? Bullshit.
Maybe. Hey, I've got a PSA that we can play if we're running out of things that you want to say about mustaches.
I mean, I can say a lot about mustache. I could talk about the never mind. Fucking go for it. Play your PSA.
Lesson so true. There's danger in inhalants. They can break you in two.
Here's a picture of McGruff hanging out with Ronald Reagan that goes with this.
Breathing them is really
that goes ham.
Don't you know inhalants really can kill? You'll be suffering pain. They will damage your brain. Cause it's really insane. Cause inhalants kill.
Monk, are you leaning into something with this? Are you hinting at something? Are you subtweeting me in real life?
I have to 100% admit this is a happy accident where I didn't even know they were going to talk about inhalants in this song. I'm just scrolling Twitter while you're fucking going on about mustaches, and I see a video titled "McGruff's Smart Kids Party Mix."
You gotta send me that link first off, because you know that there's a banger tweet that's gonna come out of that one. Thank you.
But yeah, we were talking about inhalants earlier today. I posited a question to Brian.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
This is I'm assuming the audience, you're familiar with the concept of of positing the fuck, marry, kill hypothetical,
mm-hmm.
in which you are given three options and you must choose one to bed and make love to,
mm-hmm.
another to engage in matrimony with, and another to fucking murder.
And just murder. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and also it also ties into our movie because it's about starter fluid.
Mm-hmm.
A thing that maybe some of these cars have in them. I don't know.
I mean, maybe. It's an easy reaction to make this stuff. I'm just saying.
So, Brian, fuck,
what's
marry,
up?
kill.
Okay.
Poppers, whippets, or ether.
I'm going to think about this, but I really want to hear what you have to say.
What I have
what
to
do
say.
you think?
I have never done any of them. My nose,
any of them?
My schnoz is clean as a whistle.
Well, that proves
I listened
it because
to McGruff.
That proves it because nobody's nanging in their fucking nose. Jesus. Jesus. Fucking out of touch.
I guess I do get Amazon all the time. We talked about this in an earlier episode. I do get there's like these flavored whippets on Amazon that I keep getting anytime I open up Amazon. You buy like 1 or 3 bottles of DXM off of Amazon, and then you start getting the weirdest fucking recommendations you'll ever get in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, flavored Nangs. That's wild. I prefer the Australian verbiage because calling them whippets sounds stupid, and Nangs sounds stupid
great.
in a fun way.
Whippets are also fun.
It's a dog.
It's like a shitty dog. It's like one of the dogs.
You take that back.
It's like one of the
dogs.
Whippet
is a nice dog.
There's like a type of dog that's like, you look at it and you're like, oh my God, you're gonna die.
Okay, no, that's true. That's true about Whippets, absolutely. Okay, well, I've been deliberating. It's hard. It's hard to say for sure, but okay. I know it's high stakes, but I'm gonna have to say marry Ether. Okay. I'm gonna fuck poppers. Just appropriate. That's just appropriate. And I'm gonna kill whippets.
Kill whippets. Okay.
Yeah, because they're not very fun.
Yeah.
I mean, poppers also aren't that fun, but whippets really aren't fun. You know.
Everything like, I've heard about any of these just sounds fucking miserable.
Ether? You think Ether is miserable?
Well, I think you're the only person who's ever talked to me about Ether, and you have a bizarre fixation on it, which makes me think there's some sort of horrible witchcraft involved in it.
I mean, you know, that's not wrong, but like, it's good. It's good. Like, the thing is that what Ether is, right, is you hit it, and then all of a sudden your genitals feel really warm, and then you don't feel very anxious anymore for a while.
Is that
and it's like, and I mean, you know, like, if you hit it a little too hard, you could like disappear for a minute. But like, you know, it's just fun. Like, the bad thing about it is it's really flammable, so like you have to be careful not to like have candles around. That's why junkies and people doing Ether can't hang out.
Yeah,
too many candles.
That's true. Know? I guess I can't have the other, because I got candles, I got incense, I got small flames burning 24/7.
Yeah, not okay. But yeah, then poppers are great because Troye Sivan really likes them, and if you don't know about Troye Sivan, why are you here? Yeah. I'm joking, of course, but Troye Sivan did write a song that has been making the rounds. You might know about it if you're cool. It's called Rush, and it's about the brand of poppers called Rush. And taking them and feeling really good.
Yeah, I think I will stick with my drug of choice, mowing the lawn or posting on the internet.
Okay, Hank Hill. Go hang out in Arlen or whatever.
No, I'm leaving Texas. We're recording this on July 6th. I am fucking, how many days? I'm 9 days from leaving Texas forever. And
congratulations.
Yeah, I could not be fucking happier to do that. The only thing that's going to be a pain in the ass is getting 2 episodes of the podcast recorded next week. But we'll figure it out. Whatever.
We'll figure it out. You know what I got to say about Texas, Monk?
Everything's bigger here.
In love with Texas shape. No, it's everything. Why is everything in Texas shape in Texas? Why is Texas shape so charismatic? It's a very
alluring shape.
Is it?
Yes, it is. And you know, the Texas shape is actually fairly practical for a large number of things. For example, the Texas shaped tortilla chips they sell at at our dear leader Herbert Elizabeth Butt's sundry store. Those are pretty fire. And there's a lot of the problem with a chip. It's not even really a problem, but the ideal chip shape for dipping has a lot of narrow edges where you can put your finger, but a lot of surface area in the middle to scoop out that dip stuff. And the Texas shape accommodates that very well, I gotta say.
Okay. Now explain the Texas shaped pool.
Texas shaped pool, that just goes hard.
Okay, what about Texas shaped coasters?
Again, that goes like what shape does a coaster need to be? It's covering the bottle of your drink. Why not have it be Texas shaped?
There's a lot of extra bullshit, is what I'm saying, Monk. Okay?
Yeah. It's extra bullshit. I want my shit to be minimalist. I want to be looking.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Mm-hmm. Texas, more like Tex-ass.
That's true. I will agree with that.
Okay. So do they even sell poppers in Texas, or is it too gay?
I don't know. I haven't gone looking.
Yeah, you don't drive, so you can't go to the gas station.
I opened my Amazon to see if I was getting recommended any flavored whippets or anything weird like that. I'm not getting recommended anything like that, but there is a category on my front page titled "Made in Italy."
God damn!
So what a read!
What a read! Oh my god!
Mamma mia!
Mamma mia! Papa Pia! Baby got the diarrhea. Let's see. What do I got on my Amazon homepage here?
Yeah.
It's selling me Crocs.
We're after our Amazon homepage segment, people are gonna be we're gonna get the protest.
Yeah, it's time. It's time.
Back to the chips.
No, for sure.
Come back to the chips.
Go back to chips. Tell me more about those all-dressed chips. Yeah, I know you want to hear about all-dressed chips because they're amazing. Okay. Wow, this is weak. My Amazon recommendeds are so weak right now.
I wish Amazon.
Oh my god, made in Italy too.
Oh my god, is it not just
I'm
me?
not.
I thought they were doing it to me specifically, but I guess Italy just is botting.
Italy's trending right now. Okay.
Oh, this shit looks good. There's pistachio butter.
That sounds so extra. I mean, I'm sure it's good, but it's just like,
yeah. What? And it's good. I don't want to eat pistachio butter. It's too good.
It's just like
there's even a little icon that says "Made in Italy" for these. What the fuck?
Oh, it's shipped from Italy.
Yep.
I'm out. That's fascist pistachio butter. Get it out of here.
There's a bunch of different pistachio butters.
Wow.
Lupini beans. Those are good.
What the fuck is a lupini bean? It sounds like somebody's describing a penis. or like some sort of like
orgeat. Brian, you like orgeat?
Oh, orgeat is good. You're right.
Barrel aged balsamic vinegar.
Ew. I'm anti balsamic vinegar.
Wow. I can't believe you have bad taste.
It's just too much.
I'm closing Amazon.
It's ostentatious.
So that we stop talking about this.
Why does it say Japan store? I don't like that.
Speaking of going to the store, everyone. We watched a movie today about going to the store and the strange encounters you may have on your way to the store.
That's true. That's true.
The movie Mad Max fucking Beyond Thunderdome, third of the original ones. We're wrapping up the original things, and hopefully Furiosa will be somewhere that we can steal it by the time we got to record the next one. This one was pretty good. I don't know. I was going into this. You set an expectation for this one that the writing would be a lot worse than the last one, if I recall correctly. And I was kind of going in with that expectation. And for a while, didn't really see where you're coming from, because I think the beginning of the movie just fucking slaps. Just like no reservations. Just fucking goes hard. And whips ass. You know.
Absolutely. It's the part with the kids in the plane.
Yeah.
That's the part that, first off, does it need to be there?
Yeah.
Does it really add to the story? No.
But I kind of
But it is.
Yeah. We kind of see like a direction that this is going into. If we like chart like the progress of these movies from the first to the third, we kind of see this these like direction towards the villains sort of getting like wackier and wackier, you know. And I think that the first part, this one, I think out of the first three movies, probably has some of the strongest like just random fucking weirdos wandering around, you know. Master
Absolutely.
Blaster, fucking a classic. There's a reason Master Blaster is the character that everyone fucking talks about when they think about this movie.
Yep, absolutely.
There's like a whole, what is it, the Collector and Auntie and like the whole faction that leads Bartertown. Those characters all fucking slap. And I think the script is leaving a lot more room to just sort of have these characters like doing whatever, you know, in this one, as opposed to the second movie.
I mean, yes. I don't know. Like, it definitely focuses more on having like comedy and stakes, and I feel like kind of catches the breeze that it really struggled in the second movie to feel like the characters are there,
Right.
you know. But it gets kind of busy with characters. I don't think that like Bartertown gets busy with characters, but once you get to like, oh well, we have a whole second cast that we need to introduce now that are children.
Yeah, so that part's a little bit different, but just focusing on like, because there's like sort of like three acts. There's like, he goes to Bartertown, he gets kicked out of Bartertown, he goes to Bartertown again. And in like that first act, I think that there's genuinely just nothing I would complain about. I think the way it sets up all of the characters in that, just excellent. Everyone's introduced in a way that shows that like they matter, right? Because the Collector, he's like, you get to know what the Collector's about during the time that he's like the guy on screen, you know, and then you get to know Auntie and like her minions in the time that they're on screen, and you get little previews as well while he's walking around Bartertown of some other characters that'll be sort of just show up as minor, like more minor side characters. They have like these bits where he's just seeing them like hawk their wares or things like that, and you get a little bit of characterization there, which is really interesting.
Yeah, you meet Orville Peck.
You meet the camel guy who's also the Thunderdome announcer, I think. And then they also introduce Master Blaster and like the fucking Undercity really in a really cool way, I think, where he's just like peering through the periscope looking at them, and then he's like, wow, those guys look fucking tough, and then they throw shit at you.
Yeah, and they throw literal shit on the telescope. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah,
I see what the problem is. Wow. It becomes very obvious very quickly.
Yeah. And it's just I think like it's really hitting its stride, and it's also a movie that feels this is the movie that's most identifiably like Mad Max out of the first three. I think if you went into it, if you were like channel surfing and you saw it on TV, right? You know, because the second one definitely like has like these kind of out there characters. A lot of those characters are borrowing from visual motifs that either in the case of like the people in like the settlement, though, that's not really the like furs and stuff they're wearing. That's not something that the series really further develops. And then the fetish gear, there's always incorporated into these other factions in later Mad Max movies, but it's like not really. Like it looks less like, oh, someone is wearing fetish gear, and more like, oh, this is like a wacky dude's outfit that sort of has like some fetish gear incorporated into it, you know?
Yeah, no, that's true. You get more like of the football gear kind of setup with a lot of people. And then you see some people are wearing they're like wearing bodysuits that ride up their ass and things like that. And it's like a lot of leather, but it isn't defining them exclusively as that. It's part of their definition for sure.
Yeah. And I think like a lot of like the visual identity and like the characterization that we see in Fury Road are sort of from this movie, while the overlying like plot and like structure of like how things are laid out in terms of like a series of events in the movie comes from the Road Warrior more than this one, you know. That's at least my impression of it. And it's interesting because it felt like it's definitely feels like there's a lot of things that if you watch Road Warrior and then you watch Fury Road, it definitely feels like a much more drastic transition than watching Road Warrior than this movie Beyond Thunderdome than Fury Road.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the final chase scene feels almost directly
absolutely
ripped in Fury Road in this one. Like wild stuff.
And there's a few changes in particular that I think like are really drastic visual changes that like really help sell it as more of like a Fury Road type experience than what was in Road Warrior. Number one, like all the cars have these like open tops and things like that, so you can just see everyone that's driving around, you know, which is not something you could always say is the case in Road Warrior. There's a lot of shots of cars that you can't see inside of, and they've got like closed tops, and it's just like a car rather than like a guy in a car, you know.
There's closed tops, and also I think it can't be stated enough, the limitations of the technology they were using. They couldn't get those high angles like they can now.
Yeah.
Right. And so now you have all of these really high angle shots, probably drone footage of these cars driving in the desert. And you can see into the cab. They're open, but also like you can just see in better. Where in Road Warrior, they were working basically on the same level with the cars. I was commenting at the very beginning of the movie that you get to see like an aerial shot as they were doing an establishing shot for the movie, and they're zooming in on like a car being pulled by a bunch of camels, and it's Max's car, and it's a really elegant scene. Because they do that, and then Max gets buzzed by a plane, and it's like, oh, you were the plane doing that, right? It's like, okay, very nice. But as you're coming in, you can see how shit aerial cinematography was in the late 80s here, because, or is this mid? I can't remember. 85, mid 80s, my bad. Because you see them flying in and the camera is shaking like a lot. And it's like, don't get me wrong, it doesn't take you out of it or anything, in my opinion, but it's very noticeable.
It would take you out of it if it was not like one shot that conceivably was just shaky, you know?
Yeah.
If they did a whole bunch back to back, that would take you out of it.
Yeah. But really, this movie is like very much a technological improvement over the first, over Road Warrior. And I think that's kind of like a running thing through these movies, is like, the limitations of the first movie kind of pare it down to being what it is. And I think that makes it nice and elegant in a lot of ways, even though, it's not my favorite movie, but like there's a lot of filmmaking stuff in it that I like a lot. Where then you get to this one and it's like, they're going more with like the flying in, like spectacular shots and things like that. And I'm not 100% sure that they add a whole lot to the movie. But it shows like the extra budget. The characterization definitely gets better throughout the movies. I agree 100%. Like this one is definitely an improvement on that. And that's almost certainly, I would say, a big part of budget increase too, that they can get Tina Turner to play Auntie, and that they can have like a big bucket of shit with like 500 pigs in a pen. And like they can build a set that is like, this is a crashed plane that a bunch of kids have turned into a home. It's like, okay, there's a lot of love that's been put into, a lot of love and money that's been put into building sets for this movie, and it looks really fucking good. That stuff is awesome. The Thunderdome itself, there's some awesome shots where they're like panning around as the Thunderdome fight's about to begin and during the fight even. And you can see all of they've just covered the cage in people.
Yeah.
And it's a good shot. It's just a really good, cool shot. Yeah, can't say enough good stuff about that.
Yeah, and that's also part of like it feels like you said they were like caught the wind at the beginning of this, and they sort of had like this initial momentum that they keep going. They're like the part of the film that really is, I think, the weakest is not just the fact that they introduce like a whole ton of new characters in the second act that are presumably important, although realistically like one or two of them are.
Yeah, barely even.
Yeah. They also it also just kind of drags. It also is like the early plot lines are not resolved, but it feels like the first part of the movie is over with, and there's not really a hook for what the second part is, other than like he survives the desert, and then he does. It's just it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of like individual agency through a lot of these scenes in the middle part of the movie. It just feels like a bunch of things are happening one after the other. And it's not as interesting. One of the downsides, I have to say, about having a whole ton of kids in your movie is that by and large, they are not very good actors.
Yeah.
There are a few of them who are okay at it, who are sort of given the most screen time. But even then, they're like okay at it,
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a lot of them are like the one kid, right, in Road Warrior. That kid kind of ruled because number one, it's one kid,
Yeah.
And
one
also
kid.
He doesn't talk.
His acting is purely like expression.
He's acting like a fucking animal, and that's what kids are really good at. But then you've got like these kids, and they're giving you this big expedition dump about like where the kid tribe came from and what the kid tribe wants in the world, and it's like, well, sorry,
who cares?
Yeah, I don't give a shit. And even Max doesn't really give a shit about this too, so it's like he just sort of stumbles into this den of wacky sidekicks. And
he's like, oh, these kids, they saved me. I guess I'm their dad now.
Yeah. And then a bunch of them run off into the desert to go to Bartertown, and he's like, well, I guess I gotta go here. I guess you other kids have fun living the rest of your lives here.
Yeah. I guess we're going to Bartertown.
Yeah.
And then they go to Bartertown, and he's like, well, I'm back here, I guess. How much? I mean, I get that like they need a reason to be like Max has to go back to Bartertown, because otherwise Max would have had no reason to. But like,
it could be like anything else.
Could you shore it up? Could you make it a little neater? You don't need like all of that. It's so much. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some beautiful moments with the kids. I do appreciate like, a whole bunch of kids with like, what is it? They're telling the story, and they got the what's that called? The picture viewer thing.
Yeah, it is a cool idea, and like I see why they put it in the movie, because like if that was what the movie was about, I think that would be an okay movie,
Yeah, if it was just that, it had like been done in a way that it was like that was what the plot was going to be about, was these kids. And like Max coming to like Max dying in the desert and then getting saved by a bunch of kids, and it's like, oh, okay, that's a fine movie idea, and ends up like creating kind of a cool story arc, but it just feels so like out of place in the middle of this story that's about Bartertown.
It feels like we have this A plot and then a B plot, and the B plot doesn't ever have any resolution because other than Max saying, well, find something new, kids. And the kids are like, okay, we'll do the A plot with you, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is it's just like, it's like, it doesn't even end up being a B plot because nothing resolves for them. They
go back to Sydney at the end of the movie and the credit scene, and it's like,
yeah,
okay.
they fly to Sydney because they were running away, and they got a plane now. They're going to city, I guess. It's like, cool. I guess we do want to see that nice image of Sydney. I mean, I get why they would want that in the movie. It really establishes place. It's like the Statue of Liberty in Planet of the Apes, right? Mm-hmm. But it's just like, this needs to be 2 movies that are shorter and have completely different things going on. I need a Bartertown movie, and I need a kids movie and plain kids movie, and those can't. And they don't play well together.
The Bartertown movie would also just be substantially better. Is the other thing?
Yeah. like I don't know. Go for it. I have my own thing to say after.
Part of what I was thinking too, watching this movie, is like, there's a very specific comparison. I want to know if you had the same thought where I'm thinking about it, where it's like, they have a lot more of a budget with this one, and they spend a lot of that on the sets and like a lot of like gadgets that they have, you know, like there's a lot of the kids have a lot of cool like little mechanical things that some prop designer probably spent a whole lot of time in making them work. There's all these like, there's like the periscope and all these other little simple mechanical machines, and like the bungee cords and shit in Bartertown as well. And watching this, especially when it started dragging around like the second act, I'm thinking like, man, you know, this movie is really missing. This movie is missing Kevin Costner drinking his own piss.
You know, you're so right about that.
And this movie really, I can't say this because Fury Road is obviously an amazing movie. But if, in an alternate world where Fury Road never came out, I would have to say that the Mad Max movies walked so that Waterworld would run. You know?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that like Waterworld is really a movie like this. I feel like this is something that was contested when I said it the first time. I remember because so everybody, we do a movie night in our Discord, right?
Yeah.
Come on through. We do it on Mondays. We'd be happy to watch movies with you. But we put together 2 movies at a time, right? We do a double feature, and I was like, okay, Road Warrior and Waterworld is the blend. That's what you want to do for these movies. And a lot of people were like, I don't see the connection. These are the same movies.
Yeah.
like Waterworld is this movie, but in a world where the ocean has risen above all land, right? That's just all it is. And you have all the same sort of like wild set design. You have all the like wacky characters, freaky situations. It's all there. It's the same kind of stuff. And even tells kind of a similar tale, you know? It's just about a different world. And so I'm so happy to hear you vindicate me on this, Monk.
I think even Road Warrior in particular had a lot less in common, I think, with Waterworld than this one did. This one is like, literally they go to the town where everyone barters things and someone is trying to sell him water and he is like a weird stranger, you know? And the Waterworld comparisons just get stronger from there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. This would have probably been a better edition, but also probably a harder sell. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody thinks of Road Warrior when they think of Mad Max. So, or they did before Fury Road came out. And yeah.
It's funny too, because I Fury Road in particular, I think there's a lot of people who will call themselves Mad Max fans without having seen any of the movies other than Fury Road or maybe Furiosa at this point. And like
that's probably true, isn't it? Yeah.
that's fine. Like you can call yourself a fan of whatever you want. I don't actually give a shit. But it does lead to a lot of people saying things that don't really make sense about Mad Max the series that makes sense when you're talking about Mad Max Fury Road, you know? Like a lot of people talking about Furiosa, right? The whole fucking argument about whether or not they should have had Max in the movie or whatever. It's fucking stupid, pointless discourse. I saw a lot of people make the specific remark, Mad Max is never the protagonist of his movies. He's like a side character for other people's stories. It's like, I don't think that's true in Fury Road, first of all.
Yeah.
But if we go back, especially like Mad Max 1, definitely not true. He is absolutely the main character in that.
Yeah.
Road Warrior, I can maybe see how like, oh, the he's not really involved in like the conflict between these two different factions, but the story is definitely centered on his perspective of that conflict. Like there's not any other real characters aside from him, the gyrocopter, and a couple of the villains.
Pretty much.
And then this one, like again, he is like the through line for this, right? I guess there's not really. I guess if you had to name someone else as the main character of this movie, it would be fucking Master, which would be kind of an insane thing to say.
Yeah, that'd be nuts because he isn't in like half of the movie.
Well, like that's the closest thing to a main character that's not Max in this, you know?
Yeah, I
maybe
mean,
like one of the kids.
The thing you could definitely say about Mad Max is that like he ends up inhabiting like the narrator or well, not even the narrator, the POV character for a lot of the movies, and that's mostly true. But like
you wouldn't say Neo isn't the main character of the Matrix because he's like a POV character, right?
Yeah, no,
a ridiculous thing to say.
But like he's like Max is. I think if there's a through line for Max for all of these movies, his character is not. It is like a character that is supposed to be self-interested that ends up doing something selfless. That's always the character that he ends up playing. Is he's like this haunted, broken man who has a heart of gold, but you wouldn't know it until he ends up doing something, sacrificing himself for everybody else, right? And that ends up being, you know, he like sacrifices his humanity in the first movie instead of like being a literal like I'm just sacrificing myself, right? Like like in this one he gets off the plane and crashes a car and survives and is laying on the ground. You assume that he's about to get shot by by Tina Turner. Why did I say Nina? Tina Turner. And she doesn't, because she's like, no, I mean, I don't need anything from you anymore. And game recognized game. Yeah. And for real, that is like what a character does, though. Is basically like game recognized game, and like I don't gain anything from killing you. So bye. I'm just gonna leave you out in the desert. That's enough. That's enough of me being a shit to you, anyways. So yeah. She ends up doing that in Road Warrior. He runs the fake convoy and like nearly dies, and like everybody else on the fake convoy dies. And he doesn't even join up with the main group, right? Like he does briefly, but then he leaves, I think. I can't remember.
Yeah,
exactly.
well, like he's like driving the decoy. In like and like I don't think they tell him it's the decoy, but still.
Oh no, they definitely do. But he's in the know. We're not in the know though. Yeah,
I kind of remember at the end of the movie, like he sees the sand coming out of the tanker and he like looks surprised about it. But maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think he was supposed to be surprised. I think he was just looking at it like, see,
yeah.
But I don't think it was necessarily supposed to be his experience of it, but rather us experiencing it through him.
Fair enough.
Anyways, but and then in you know, of course, in Fury Road, he ends up he does everything to help these people, do the whole thing, and then just goes and fucks off.
He
And it's
rides
like,
off into the sunset, something a lot of main characters do.
yeah. Well, no, I mean, true. It's just like, what is the through line here? And that's the through line of Max, is that he's a good guy, but he's a hard guy. He's a hard good guy, quiet, seems self-interested, but is a sucker for a good cause. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, not a terribly uncommon heroic trope, but anybody saying like, yeah, he's not a main character, it's just like, I don't know, I don't feel like we watched the same movie.
Or maybe you don't
like
know.
There's just multiple main characters sometimes. Like Furiosa is another main character, of course.
Yeah,
but like
it's sort of a
so
statement. I think it would make sense if you watched Fury. I think I would still disagree with it if we're just talking about Fury Road, just because I think you're right. It's all three of them. They're kind of main characters in that movie.
Yeah.
And like, also, I'm sort of on these people's side because they're the ones who are saying, like, who are arguing against the people saying Furiosa should have had fucking Mad Max in it, which is like, I don't give a shit, dude. Like, come on.
Yeah. Why does it need to have Mad Max in it? It's about Furiosa.
Theoretically, I don't even care if it has Furiosa in it, like.
Yeah, it's a story, and if it's going to be about a character and it makes sense in the universe, then do it. It's fine. But like having Furiosa in it and doing the Furiosa story, it's like, that's cool and fine and its own thing. It doesn't need to have Mad Max in it. In fact, I'd probably be a little bit annoyed if Mad Max showed up before Furiosa became Furiosa. Like, right. I'm just before Fury Road, because I'm just like, why? Why would Mad Max show up before Fury Road? Why on Earth? And yeah.
But so it's like it's just kind of I'm on these people's side in that sense, but also like it just reads like they haven't seen any of the other movies.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah, you don't have to go watch a bunch of movies from the 70s and 80s if you're like a Zoomer. It's good that you watched a movie and formed an opinion about it, but you should probably
good.
over the ensuing decades, if you want to keep posting on movies on the internet, you'll probably get a lot better at it if you watch more movies.
Yeah, if you watch more movies and like a variety of them, even in the same series, but like kind of like what the evolution of that movie series was, you can develop some really interesting insights. That's what happened with me in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I guess like every other millennial too, but like, but I'm better at it.
Speaking of Star Wars, if you have not heard of Star Wars Take yet, Edging Deluxe on patreon.com. That's all I'm going to say about it for now.
We do have that whole thing. We definitely don't talk about politics on it at all. Okay, speaking of politics,
we actually have not talked about chips on it.
That's true. We have not talked about chips. And we're going to try and keep it a chip-free zone.
The chips are for you. So think about it like this. Think about everyone in the Undercity of Bartertown. Y'all are like the hordes of swine that you're the
excrement.
Hogs. Your excrement keeps the podcast going,
Mm-hmm.
But the true erudite patricians,
philosopher kings,
they live up above in Edging Deluxe, where they don't have to listen to us talk about chips.
Yeah, they don't have to listen to that.
Also put less effort into the show.
We put even less effort in, and also it's mostly just us talking about Star Wars, and then definitely not the Democratic, or not even Democrat, the presidential debate one time. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, speaking of politics, what did you think about the politics of this movie, Monk?
I thought it was interesting how they like frame like Master Blaster. For one thing, this is like goes back to Fury Road. We've been talking about like disability stuff sort of for most of these movies, and it's like, I think you mentioned when we saw the first Mad Max, you were kind of surprised that there was like that disability angle even early into that. And that fucking plays up again in this one, where Master Blaster is sold as like this like evil fucking villain, and he kind of is. He's like extorting people for not like shoveling pig shit for him. But he's not like a nice guy, but
No.
by the standards of Bartertown, you know, he's just fucking standing up for himself, and it's two fucking people with disabilities who have joined together in collective bargaining, a 2-man to collective bargaining group to fucking wreck shit in the pig shit.
Well, you see, here's the thing. That's Lenin and Trotsky. Okay. I'm kidding.
We're like Nixon and Agnew.
Yeah. Rawr. Yeah, it is really interesting though, because there's a lot of political threads in this movie. Like, actually, I know this sounds stupid as fuck, but in the movie Beyond Thunderdome, there's a lot of political threads. Okay. There's a whole lot of talk about kind of, this is a very Civ brand movie. Okay. Or perhaps anti-Civ brand. There's like a big, when getting to Bartertown, you meet Bartertown. Bartertown is an entity in and of itself, right? And it's very much like industrial society pilled, right? Like, they've created all these things, and they talk of their civilization here, right? They've built a place where civilization is blooming in this wasteland, and it's like very cool. But you can see that there's all sorts of problems in Bartertown immediately. That there's like class system popping up, and there's like people being forced to shovel pig shit as their livelihood, because they killed a pig one time, and that's their prison sentence, is shoveling pig shit. And they've been branded with the word pig killer. And so Master Blaster is like the overseer of the pig farm and the methane farm, but also understands that his role in society is gives him like a lot of control, in that he controls power flow up to the surface, and that pisses off the aristocrats at the top, where he's like, I would say that Master Blaster perhaps is a petty bourgeois character, right? Yeah, would you agree with that? I think that's probably correct, right?
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from that angle. I can see how you would arrive there.
Where the aristocrats then try to have him assassinated by Max, and he ends up doing this. He ends up being like, "Oh, you tried to assassinate me. You killed half of me." That being Blaster, and Max finally sees their humanity when Blaster is defeated in the Thunderdome, and goes, "Hey, this is not somebody I should be killing. Like, it seems like Blaster doesn't know what's happening, really." And then the aristocrats kill Blaster, just shoot him with arrows. And then the whole deal with Max is off, and they're not fair dealers, right? They're like, "Oh yeah, of course not. They might have killed him anyway." And so then, Max gets cast out, and Master is put into slavery back in into the pit, alongside all of the other slaves down there, which we only meet one of them, but there's more. And also the slaves and like the working class kind of make up the pig farm.
Yeah.
Because you have people who can go down there and ask for a job and work in the pig farm, or you can be sentenced to work on the pig farm. But these people are on the same plane. It's like I don't know. There's a lot of political text in this movie. It's well developed. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, and a lot of it too is like things that are kind of like just little ironic comments here and there too, like the hype man for the Thunderdome when they're both entering, talking about in the past people waged war and it was really bad. Now we've got a big metal dome and we kill each other in that.
And it's so civilized now. It's like, okay, man, this is how we stop war: is we settle our differences in duels,
in the Thunderdome.
Entertainment. Like, what? Everybody looks at that and goes, I don't know about that.
And their whole civilization is sort of based, I think, on what the catchiest line to chant would be, which is very familiar to me as an American.
Absolutely.
But like literally they go from one man enters, one man leaves in the Thunderdome to the legal counter argument. You break the deal, we spin the wheel.
Yeah.
And the cool part about the wheel too is that the two, like half the wheel are these two giant sections that just say Auntie's Choice.
Yeah. Because guess what? It's Auntie's Choice. Tina Turner, she's gonna tell you what to do.
Tina Turner is selling the fuck out of every line she has in this movie too.
Jesus Christ, she sure is. She goes so fucking hard in this movie. Do you mind if I keep talking about the politics of this movie?
No, I didn't want to go further.
Do you mind if I do it? I don't know if it's onerous. I don't know if it's like horror.
Oh, well, I mean, there's plenty of shit to talk about in like the second act too, and then the third act is like sort of they kind of drop all that for the chase scene, you know?
Yeah. Speaking of the second act, though,
yeah,
we got Max abandoned by society. Abandoned by society into the wilds. He runs into the wilds, chasing water, hauled by a trickster monkey that hates him. And he ends up basically dying, right? He's on the verge of death in this covered in salt and sand, and discovered by a child, and she drags him to the place where all these children are. And these children are living in a state of nature, which is not real, but is for the text of this movie, right? And they get together and through their time together end up making their way back to the civilization, right? And end up going and like fighting the civilization, literally destroying it. I think one of the moments that I really liked around that though was one of the children stands next to Pig Killer. I don't know if that's his name, but he's Pig Killer, you know?
Yeah.
And they're just like looking at each other and they both just smile at each other. Because here's the thing, they're looking at each other and they're like, we have common ground. The child of the wastes, this wild child, the Enkidu to your Gilgamesh is is here, and Pig Killer looks back and is like, hey, yeah, and then they just start overthrowing society. There's a beautiful elegance to that. I mean, and this is the reason I brought up the Kaczynski quote, right? Because this movie does have a lot of Kaczynskian vibes. Like it is very critical of industrial society but in not a very like well developed or like I don't think that it's like got the best politics, right? Like I don't agree with this exactly.
But no, I probably would not go and base my entire view of the world on Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Exactly. I'm like surprised and shocked that it has as much of a political bent to it as it does, But ultimately its thesis is Rich Vern to the wastes, and because there's a society being built up, and even the children still end up doing it at the end, but
Yeah.
it's, I don't know, it's weird and confused a lot of the time, but it's there. It's there.
That sort of is something that's been there since since the first movie, honestly, is these two competing visions of society where it's like, and it doesn't feel like the movie has like a really anything, like it doesn't feel like any of these movies have a thesis statement about like which one is right. And they try to like, I think both of them are sort of played up as being kind of awful, of like a more like anarchic versus a more like authoritarian parallels of society, you know. Like that's definitely in Fury Road. Fury Road is the one that's the most sympathetic to the anarchic view, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Fury Road has a very clear political agenda to it.
Yeah.
Unlike these movies, it's very solidified and like telling the story that it wants to be telling.
Right.
Yeah.
But even in like the first movie, you have the police officers versus the crazy biker gang. You have the you have like the raiders versus like the settlers in the second movie. And like it's usually not like super black and white which one is like the good guys, right? It's just the side that Max showed up and saw first is typically the side that ends up being our protagonist.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, yes and no, because there's like, I think it is very clear in Road Warrior who the good guys are, but it's
who the
that
better
we come
guys
to it.
are, you know, but like
Yeah.
there's like plenty of scenes in Road Warrior where it's like the settlers are shown to be like these sort of, I think, like even without viewing it from the perspective of that I have coming into it, I think it's pretty clear that they're like selfish, like kind of hypocritical douchebags, you know.
they're skittish and they're like kind of they're like very much leery of outsiders. And yeah, and I mean that's, hey, you know, that's some great ways of looking at civilization and being like, hey, that's a problem. But you know, it is interesting to see it in this context, like what it feels different in a lot of ways in each movie. And yes, nobody's like a good guy, but it's not like it's grimdark, you know.
Right.
It definitely is taking sides, whether that's like, whether you want to accept that as being the actual like reality of the movie or just like the propaganda of the movie, like that's one thing. But yeah, I don't know, it's out there. It's all out there, dog.
Yeah. I don't know, it's just interesting seeing that through line develop through the movies.
Yeah.
But that's God, what else was there to talk about in this one in particular?
I feel like we should talk about just the chase scene at the end.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, it feels like it is taken straight from Fury Road. A few shots in particular, right? Like there's one shot in particular. So the fun thing about this one is that it's a train chase for most of it. And you do see a lot of scenes in it that feel like they could have been lifted from Fury Road, like the sort of like view over the horizon of the desert of like this like convoy of different raiding cars in the distance with like the heat waves. They show a shot like that in this movie a few times, I think, and that's like what Fury Road is, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in Fury Road. There's there's like
the profile
specific
shot
scenes
of the cars like jockeying for the lead position in the convoy.
Yep. It feels like it's developed on top of what the Road Warrior did, but like evolving. And so there's like a very clear through line from Road Warrior to Fury Road. If you look at this movie, there's like you can see the movement. But in this one, there's also just like certain scenes that are directly ripped, right? there's a guy with a harpoon gun, the guy with the mannequin head that he has over his head to make him seem taller. Wild. Also, he has a relationship with this character that is the mannequin head. I don't know. There's a lot to get in there, but yeah. Anyways, so he's driving up and he's on a harpoon gun. He shoots a harpoon through the door, and guess what happens? It gets shot through the door and sticks through Pig Killer's leg. And Pig Killer's like, "Oh, good." And there's a harpoon that gets shot into a door in like the front half of Fury Road that ends up ripping the door off and killing one of the I don't know, the breeding stock for for fucking the bad guy. Yeah. And yeah, it's like there's like a very, I think it's like a very easy through line to be like, these are such similar scenes.
Wasn't there also like a harpoon shot similar to that in Road Warrior too?
I don't think there was anything that like went through a door and through somebody's like body or like the car's body. Because in Fury Road, it goes through, the harpoon goes and shoots through the door and into the steering wheel.
Yeah, I think Max got hit by a harpoon through a door in Road Warrior, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. I don't remember though. Yeah. Let's see what else. There's also like a lull in the middle where they have to stop and they get off the train and get on a plane.
They have to take their transfer.
Yeah. Yeah, Amtrak was out of line, so they had to book a plane for everybody.
One of the fucking best parts of this chase scene was the fucking guy. They've got one of the hand carts, and they've got a guy just fucking going nuts. It's not even two guys; it's just one guy with the strength of a train pushing the hand cart.
Yeah, and this movie is very okay with comedy.
Yeah.
Like, this movie is much more aware of what it is than Road Warrior is, and decides to go like way more into the comedy angle.
I think at times it does get a little bit much with the comedy, especially
you think so?
Yeah, I do think so. Especially when it's like the scenes with like the kids. It can kind of get like a little bit Star Wars with it, if you know what I mean.
I do. Yeah, there's like definitely some with the kids. I get that. But like but when it's the adults, I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good.
I think most of the time it is pretty good. Yeah, I don't want to shit on. This movie should never be funny, but it's sometimes just a little bit much, you know.
Yeah, like all of the Pig Killer comedy scenes, I think are excellent. They really break tension in a good way. Yeah, there's like, what else? Yeah, like our returning British man,
who's a different character this time. I'm almost certain.
Different character. Yeah, pilot of the something. I think it was called the Junkie Jalopy. Which I love that as a name for an airplane. It's a shitty airplane too that shouldn't be able to carry all the people that it's supposed to. Yeah, I think that's also very funny. It's like a clown car full of children. By the end of the movie, yeah, it's just, it feels very like Benny Hill sometimes.
Yeah,
and I love that. I think that's great. I think that this movie not taking itself too seriously and going and leaning towards comedy works really well for it.
I do think that it works well in some cases. I think, again, like it's really hard to watch these movies and not just keep comparing them to Fury Road, even though it's just not a fair comparison. Fury Road I think is equally as funny in this movie during its funniest parts, and still maintains that sort of sense of dramatic tension through the whole movie. Whereas this movie, like, the drama is not really there in terms of like, it kind of is, but like it's definitely like it's definitely taking a back seat to the comedy in most of the movie, I think. Like I don't really give a shit about the people in Bartertown. I don't really give a shit about the kids.
Yeah.
I don't really like Max feels like he's just sort of along for the ride for most of the movie too. He's like just there to get his shit and leave, and he doesn't do that. There's one or two moments like at the very end of the movie. I think it's a very dramatic climax where he's like charging his car into the enemy convoy. I think that's shot in a way that's like selling the drama of that well too.
Yeah.
But like the jokes very frequently do feel like they're getting in the way of like something that's not funny. And in the movie's defense, it's pretty funny most of the time. So I don't think it's necessarily a problem. It's just a different direction that Fury Road sells both of them at the same time much better.
Yeah, like when they take it the ending, I laughed, but it was kind of a weird spot where it's like the guy that was in the car that collided with Max's car after he flew off.
Yeah.
Like he pets the face of the mannequin head that he has on top of his head and then flips off Max before presumably dying. And it's like, okay, that's fine. But also it really does take away from kind of the heaviness of the scene, which you're supposed to be feeling. It doesn't really make sense there. But then again, there's all these other moments where like the end of the Thunderdome scene where I think like the drama with Master Blaster and Blaster dying like is handled very well and has like a lot of emotional stake to it.
That is true. And that, but like it just feels like those moments are way fewer and further between than in Fury Road. But
I think I agree. But also I think that a lot of that is that like the emotional weight of the movie and the seriousness of the movie just kind of falls off at the end of Bartertown.
Yeah, that's true too.
And so like once you've gotten past Bartertown, you meet all these kids and it's whimsical. Everything's whimsical for like the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it's like it's on some like fucking like Steven Spielberg ass shit kind of, you know.
Yeah.
It's also got like this like kids adventure movie fucking orchestral soundtrack for a lot of the second half, which I'm really like,
it's weird.
There's like a particular type of movie soundtrack that when I hear it, I just stop giving a shit about a single thing that happens on screen. Now, to be fair, Waterworld has the same problem.
Yeah, for sure.
I like Waterworld at least has like the cool like didgeridoos and like windpipes and shit for most of it.
Yeah, most of it's good, but it does have moments. And this one also has moments. I think that's like kind of a problem with 80s and 90s movies in general, though.
Yeah.
Is like musical tonality is weird. It doesn't feel like it's figured out.
Yeah.
It's like lighting now, you know? You know how like in movies now, no one knows how to do lighting? 80s and 90s movies, soundtracks, it was kind of the Wild West, you know?
Kinda.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the Wild West, you got anything else to say about this, or should we head to the Wild West of our email inbox?
I think that Wild Wild West, Will West, Desperado, big spider, really big metal spider.
Hell yeah.
So let's listen to this email.
Let's listen to this email. Okay.
I'm gonna listen. I'm not reading this.
We actually don't have any emails, but we do have a Discord message.
A Discord message. Interesting.
Let me
no phone calls, but we got Discord.
We do have a phone call as well.
Oh, we got a phone call too. Okay. We got it all.
We have a Discord message. I don't want to from Troggy Doggy. I don't want to leave another voicemail, but when y'all get to Star Wars, I think y'all should talk about amputation/prosthetic limbs in contrast to how Mad Max does disability. Two very different conversations. That is a conversation we did not have on Edging Deluxe, where we watched episode 2, where Anakin's arm gets cut off.
That's
and
true.
you know what? To be fair, the movie doesn't really have anything to say about disability either, because it just sort of
Nope.
gets plastered over so they can do more cool sword fights.
It's in the prequels, there's no commentary. There's no thoughts, there's no commentary. It literally is just, this happened in the other movie, and so we're putting it in this movie.
Yeah.
That's it. And if you think that's good, no.
Yeah. You can hear more about, we don't talk about that directly in Edging Deluxe, but that's we have an opinion embargo on the Star Wars prequel. Yeah, Edging Deluxe on Patreon.
Edging Deluxe, $1 a month if you want to check it out.
For Edging Deluxe. Anyway, here's another voicemail, or the only voicemail from Troggy Doggy. Do. Also, a cool thing, I read sometimes the first few words of the transcript. And Google's transcripts are always so bad. This one says, "Hi, I'll try you, doggy."
Ooh.
Hi, I'll try you, doggy. I'm very behind on my podcast. I only just listened to the Mad Max episode. I'll ignore that for the most part. I think 3,000 Years of Longing, George Miller's most recent movie outside of the Mad Max franchise, that is a fair amount of dialogue. It's decent, but it is still strongest whenever it's doing visual storytelling or wordless storytelling. But aside from that, Idiocracy, I think, I'm not sure where I land on it being an edgelord movie, but I would say it's probably a lot of edgelord enthusiasts' favorite comedy outside of maybe the South Park movie. I'm sure there's a few other ones, maybe Jackass, but that's a different league. So I'm not sure if it really counts as edgelord per se, but I think it is definitely worth talking about in the same realm, at least. I think it'd be a fun Patreon episode, at the very least. I do think it's strongest whenever it's making fun of brands. If you remade it and took out literally half of the dialogue, anything about it being eugenics light, not even light, it's just eugenics, it'd probably be a strong contender for a really good remake. But I digress. Y'all doing good with the podcast. Sorry I've not been able to send in voicemails. I was out of the country for a week and trying not to listen to podcasts constantly. So, I'm behind. I probably will be for the foreseeable future. Y'all have a good one.
Alrighty, we'll have fun, or I hope you had fun outside of the country.
Yeah. I mean, congratulations on transversing a border.
Yeah. Brian, did we talk about Idiocracy?
We did mention it. And as is always the case when I talk about Idiocracy, I talk about how it kind of a eugenics movie. So
yeah, I remember we had a conversation about this. I just didn't know if it was on the podcast or not.
I assume so because Troggy Doggy hasn't been hanging out very often recently. So yeah, we must have had it on the podcast. But yeah, it's that movie. If you take out all of the eugenics, you have part of a movie. Not much of one. Because that's like one of the really major conceits of the movie. But
you know what I'd rather watch than
what's that?
Idiocracy? The Biodome or Encino Man.
Oh yeah, those would be good. Those would be good. I'd definitely be down to watch Idiocracy again. I feel like it's going to be really painful though. I feel like that movie is going to be a slog.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe
don't get me wrong. There's things I do fondly remember. I remember Dax Shepard playing a dumb guy who masturbates all the time and thinks the funniest thing in the world is getting kicked in the balls.
That's the funniest thing in the world.
That's a fun character. I'm not gonna lie. That's a pretty fun character. President Camacho. Somehow I remember that. Played by what's his name? Fuck.
Clive Owen.
No, he's just he's like a wrestler archetype kind guy, but fuck. He's like really nice. He does interviews all shit. Anyways, he's great. President Camacho, pretty funny character, you know, being like pro wrestler character, pro wrestler president, very funny. I like that. Yeah, there's just a lot of little things that are really funny that I wish weren't strung together with a big pile of doo-doo. You know? So, but you know, I'd be down. We watched fucking Gamer. How much worse could it be?
Famous last words. If you want to see how much worse things can get, you can send us an email at edgelordpod@gmail.com. You can subscribe to Edging Deluxe on Patreon. That link will probably be somewhere. What's our SEO on that? If we do Edging Podcast Patreon, does it show up?
I have no idea. That's a good question.
No, it does not show.
Like at all?
No, I see edifying educational experiences, home of the scriptures.
That's our website. We're actually a Christian podcast.
Their most popular donation tier is the Enlightened Edge. And they have some guy with glasses and is doing seminars, and it's $75. It's a Utah. Oh, these are Mormons. They're Mormons.
Mormons are beating us. I hate it.
Yeah, we gotta fucking
we gotta get these numbers.
We gotta issue a cease and desist.
Yeah,
you're not allowed to use the word edge.
Don't you know edge? You fucking weird Mormons. Don't you know edging is a sex thing?
Yeah,
you're impure.
It should be soaking with whoever these people are.
Soaking with Alex Antonov of the Latter-day Saints.
Actually,
thanks.
Brian, you know our other podcast, our actual good podcast that we were going to do, where we travel to saunas and bathhouses around the country.
Mm-hmm. I thought we were going to talk about toilet talk, but
that's soaking with trash.
That is soaking with trash. Take that, Mormons. We're taking it. We're taking that word. That's ours. No longer will your college students at Brigham Young University be talking about soaking. They'll be talking about a whole new thing because we're taking it for the podcast.
They'll have to rename it. They'll have to call it like marinating.
Marinating. Pickling.
Brining. edgelordpod@gmail.com. Edging Podcast on Twitter. I'm cursedmonk. We've got Briantrash. We got our rotating cadre of guests who have not been on in a little bit because we're recording these at 4 a.m.
Mm-hmm. You know, maybe we'll get someone on again soon. I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe.
Until
that happens, or until we don't do that and just release another normal episode. Fuck it. That's the show, I guess.
Yeah.
So
y'all have a good day, night, whatever.
Or don't. I'm not your fucking boss.